My wife left on our wedding night, not after a fight, not after a revelation, not after anything that made sense. She got up at 2 in the morning while I was asleep. She picked up her bag, which I later realized she had packed before the wedding, and she walked out of the hotel room without leaving a note. I woke up alone on the first morning of my marriage. My name is Ryan. I am 33 years old. I am a secondary school teacher from Cardiff, and I am going to tell you the story of the most confusing and humiliating night of my life, and what I eventually found out was behind it. Sarah and I had been together for 3 years before we got married. 3 years of what I genuinely believed was a solid and loving relationship. We had our arguments, every couple does, but we always came back to each other. We always talked things through. I never once doubted that she wanted to be with me. The wedding was everything we had planned together. Small, 30 guests, a venue outside Cardiff that she had fallen in love with the first time we visited. She walked down the aisle and she was smiling. She said her vows and her voice was steady. She danced with me at the reception and she laughed the way she always laughed, and everything felt exactly as it should. We went up to our room at midnight. We talked for a while. She seemed quieter than usual, but I put it down to exhaustion. It had been a long and emotional day. We fell asleep. At 6 in the morning, I reached across the bed. She was not there. I assumed she had gone to the bathroom. I waited. I checked the bathroom. I checked the corridor. I called her phone. It rang out. I sat on the edge of that hotel bed in my wedding suit from the night before, and I called her 17 times in the next 2 hours. Every single call rang out. I called her mother. Her mother did not know where she was. I called her best friend. Her best friend went very quiet on the phone and said she could not talk right now. That silence told me everything and nothing at the same time. The next 48 hours were the most surreal of my life. I checked out of the hotel alone. I drove back to the flat we had moved into together 3 weeks earlier. I sat on the couch surrounded by wedding cards we had not opened yet, and I waited. She came back on the 3rd day. She sat across from me and she told me she was sorry. She said she had panicked. She said she had been feeling doubts for months and had not known how to say it. She said she thought the feelings would go away on the wedding day, and they had not. I asked her why she had not said anything, before the wedding. She said she did not want to hurt me. I sat with that for a very long time. She had watched me plan a wedding. She had stood at that altar and said vows she did not mean. She had danced with me and laughed with me and then waited until I was asleep to disappear. And she had done all of that to avoid hurting me. The marriage was annulled 6 weeks later. The legal process was straightforward. The emotional process was not. The hardest part was not the humiliation, though that was real, telling people, watching their faces, fielding the questions I did not have answers to. That was genuinely painful. The hardest part was the uncertainty, not knowing for months what the real reason was. Whether there was someone else, whether I had missed something, whether the entire 3 years had been something other than what I thought it was. I found out the full truth about 8 months later through a mutual friend. Sarah had been in contact with an ex throughout most of our relationship. Not physically, but emotionally, a connection she had never fully closed. She had convinced herself it was nothing. She had convinced herself she could marry me and move on. Standing at that altar, she had realized she could not. I do not tell you that to make her the villain. People are complicated. Feelings are complicated. She made wrong choices, but I do not think she was a bad person. I think she was someone who did not deal with something she should have dealt with long before our wedding day. What that year taught me is something I carry with me now in every relationship I have. Pay attention to what people do not say. The conversations that get changed, the questions that get deflected, the moments where someone goes quiet in a way that does not quite fit. I missed all of those things with Sarah. Not because I was naive, because I trusted her, and trust, real trust, sometimes means you stop watching. I am not married. I am not in a relationship right now. I am taking my time in a way I did not before, paying attention differently. asking the questions I used to leave unasked. I woke up alone on the first morning of my marriage, but I am not alone now in the way that actually matters. I know exactly who I am, I know what I want, and I know what I will never accept again. That is more than most people figure out in a lifetime.